Dala dala everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to be back with you guys. And today I wanted to do something that you've been asked. You asked me a lot of time what questions about astrology and why I often speak about astrology. And today we're very lucky because I have this good friend of mine, Krisztina, who's an astrologer and who's going to give you things that will answer the basic question that you may have, some resources, and etc. And as I've mentioned to you, I've had a session with Krisztina, and I always bring things to you that I've tried, that I've done. So I've already had a consultation with her, and I know that what she's saying is she's very good at what she does. She confirmed a lot of things for me and for my family. So I will recommend her 100%. So today, we'll start with just answering some of the questions you've asked me. Why should we care about astrology? What is astrology? So we can start with that. And then as a little bonus, we'll talk a little bit more about a specific area of astrology, which is medical astrology. And then she will give you a few recommendations and things you can learn. So Krisztina.
Hi, thank you so much to having me. I really like to connect with you because from the very beginning, I really felt that very deep karmic connection between us. And you are a very humble person and your knowledge is immersed. And I truly love that. Thank you so much, guys, to having me over here or even giving me a chance and listening me. Hopefully my accent won't be really hard for you, but obviously who speaks any other languages, those people are understanding accent. So I wouldn't be, because your channel also, you are bilingual or trilingual as well. So obviously it's not gonna be an issue over here. Usually when I introduce people on my channel, I say, welcome my wise astrology tribe, Cosmic Insight Astrology. That's my astrology channel. I am your co-pilot. Why do I say that? Because actually I'm here to helping you to see the challenges, and I'm here to also help you to navigate, those challenges and overcome anything in your life. And also, I really truly believe the matter is in your hand. You should never give your power to anyone, not an astrologer, not a doctor. You interview your doctor actually before you go and you take any kind of medical treatment. So that's why I say I'm only here to help you to see if there is challenges or help you with remedies, anything to do with herbalism as well. My background is actually I'm a psychiatric nurse and a special educational teacher, social worker. And I also have some degree in art as well, but I truly connect with medical astrology and also teaching, children who had disability. Astrology, astroherbalism, anything to do with palmistry, face diagnosis. Actually, I use those tools, just like astrology, how to detect illnesses and how to help people to find the right treatment. And if you are there for someone, and they are having a reading with you, you should never say, okay, here it is, that's what you should do. You should never take away the opportunity for them to go and seek for real medical treatment as well. That is not what we do over here. We actually interpret the chart, the energy of the chart, and then we are helping them to find different kind of method. A lot of people went back to holistic. Yes. And you wanted to talk about astrology a little bit, right? So just the basic.
Yes, especially how it works, but because we have the audience is diverse, you have people who've never heard of astrology before and people who've been more advanced. Just explain to them, especially for those of you who are Afro-descendant or part of the diaspora, just explain to you why, no matter where you were born, why it can be relevant to use astrology.
All right. Okay. So astrology is for everyone, no matter where you were born, no matter your race, your gender, your age, Actually, astrology is helping to understand yourself and everything, the energy around you, right? So it's going to help you. This is a tool. This is a tool to translate the energy around us. And that is an amazing tool. the moment when you were born, actually there was the planetary aspect in the sky. That is your blueprint, what you were born with. That is your soul contract, what you were born with, your karma, what you have to actually fulfill. And for example, perhaps repay in this lifetime, and the purpose also shown in your astrology chart, what you were born to do. And astrology, for example, so doesn't matter, as I said, what kind of nation we are, but I do have to talk about a few things over here. I have to talk about the tropical and Vedic astrology. Me, myself, I'm doing tropical whole sign evolutionary astrology, and I'm gonna explain all of them. But the very first thing what we're gonna talk about here, it is the Western tropical and the Vedic astrology. The Western tropical astrology, actually, it is based on the sun and the earth's relationship to the equinox and the solstices, all right? And then focuses on the personal growth and also focuses on psychology. And in Western astrology, we do have the free will over here. Western astrology is a little bit, to understand our modern life, anything to do with our career choices and, your personal human evolution. I'm a Buddhist myself, and, for me, the personal human evolution, and it is very, very important. And, for example, if you were born in Western astrology on May 15, then you are a Taurus person, right? But we're going to talk about that later on a little bit more in depth. And in Vedic astrology, that is actually the sidereal astrology. And it usually used in India and also some African tradition as well. And it's based on either the moon or also the fixed star constellation as well, right? The sidereal zodiacs. And it is very, very deep, karmic, fated, past life influences. Many times when somebody is doing Vedic astrology, they say it like it's all doom, but it's not. It's not true. But it is really, truly based on also the moon sign, and also it's based on the karma past life. How did you accumulate, your karma, and how is it going to unfold in this lifetime? So yes, and actually the Vedic astrology and the Western astrology, they have 23 to 24 degrees between. So for example, if somebody's sun is in Pisces 29 degrees in Western astrology, in Vedic, they steer Pisces because they were late born, and it's only 23 degrees over there, the differences. So, you count back, but usually it moves a sign backward, all right, in Vedic astrology. So that's the differences over there. And then we're also going to talk about the heliocentric and the geocentric astrology. Whoever does astrology and prediction or YouTube channel, they do usually geocentric astrology. Why? Because of we are earth-centered. That's earth-centered astrology. The other one is sun-centered and moves the earth out. But, as a human being, you have your experience, your human experience on earth, right? Not in another planet at this time. So what is it? So we really use geocentric, whatever it is, Vedic or Western, we do usually use the geocentric astrology, right? Because of that, it looks the planetary movements as seen from Earth, and that's very, very important. And the heliocentric is, the planetary motions. When the sun is in the middle, the sun is the center of everything, right? So that's the difference over there. And then we can also talk about the whole and the Placidus. A lot of people, even if they have advanced astrology knowledge, they are very, very confused about this. I do use whole sign. Why? Because all the prediction, and if you actually, analyze financial market, what I do, or medical pandemic issues, or anything to do with earth, mundane related issues in YouTube, and you are analyzing that. Anyway, you either use the whole sign or the Sibley chart of the country, but let's say whole sign, right? And that is the most ancient, the oldest whole system. And it is very clear. it's very easy to see. For example, in whole sign astrology, every single sign exactly has one houses and it's all equal part. It's, like it's easy to see the connection between them, not confusing. It is the most ancient as well. And it is really great to use with predictive astrology. That's what we are doing over here. And, also interpret huge life events. For example, whole sign I always would use for life purpose, even to anything to do with illnesses in the chart, or also, karma as well. I always gonna use whole sign. Not tropical, Placidus host system, and there is equal host system and other things equal. I use it when you totally don't know, for example, the time of the birth of the person, because to erect an astrology chart, you need the date, the place, and the time, the exact time. The exact time is going to show you what is your rising sign, your ascendant. And the ascendant is the first house, which is the mask what you wear actually in society. That's who you represent yourself, your company. That is your body. That is the soul came into something, the way you will pretend and project yourself in this lifetime. So that's what it is. If you don't know your birth time, I do ratification. I was learning and certified with Chris Bernan, and it is a really, really amazing tool. This is a long, sometimes very long project for me, because some people have no idea if they're born in night or daytime, and I have to ask like then 200 questions from them. But if they at least have a little knowledge about that, okay, I was born between 8 and 12, my mom said, it's easier actually to ratify the chart, obviously, right? Within 4 hours or 24 hours. So yes, so that is, and then, the day is, and the month is going to explain and signify your sun sign, which is your father figure, your career in astrology. This is also some kind of purpose in life. And the moon sign. The moon sign is changing every 2.5 days, right? So if you really don't know, for example, if you're born in the very early morning or very late night, even your moon sign could change. If you were in late degrees, for example, in Taurus moon, 25 degrees at morning, but by the end of the day, it would go to Gemini. So that's why I like to, ratify the chart, because we need that. The moon is your mother figure, the way you nurturing yourself, the way you nurturing others around you, and the way you are mothering your offsprings as well. And that is your emotions, your subconscious, right? So your feelings, your tears, and it's an amazing knowledge over here. So this is the difference. And the Placidus houses I wanted to talk about, but I use horse sign. The Placidus is modern astrology actually, and divides houses unequally, because based on latitude and birth location, and sometimes if you were born actually up high in Finland, you can have your charts, for example, the 10th house super huge or the first house super huge, and it's very confusing, especially in high latitude. So that's the difference. I don't use Placidus, but I do use Placidus for timing, because I do believe for timing when something is going to unfold in our life. I go back a little bit, because Placidus could show different timing, and I use the Placidus. I find Placidus system more relevant. And also, I check Placidus for each of my clients, because I want to see the intercepted rulers. So what else is influencing the chart over there, in the first house, for example. So I use a little bit of Placidus as well. And then we have to go to personal astrology, which is all about you. The planetary influences, the blueprint, the birth chart you were born with, it shows the career path you should go on, your purpose in life, and the illnesses, what you're prone to, the family karma, your karma as well. And then we use mundane astrology, but mundane astrology is when we do predictions for the world, for example. So that is anything to do with politics, geopolitical events, world events, anything to do with financial market as well. However, there is a new branch, a long time ago it started, financial astrology branch as well, but we still predict in mundane as well financial market, and anything to do with pandemics and natural disasters as well. And the mundane astrology, to just tell you guys, actually an example if we're here. So Saturn at this moment is in Pisces in Western astrology, all right? It's in Pisces, and in Pisces, if we are checking the mundane astrology, the global economic changes, right? It's going to bring in some global economic change, obviously, and Saturn is deflation, for example, issues on financial market because Saturn is restriction, the lord of karma, and also it could bring some kind of issue with water resources, to make toxic the water on earth, or like there is some kind of drought in multiple countries. In personal life, for example, Saturn in Pisces, and especially, for example, let's say it's in your seventh house. All right, so what could it bring? Seventh house is anything to do with alliances, it is your YouTube followers, it is your partner, significant other, and your business partner. So it could bring in some kind of issue with your significant other or business partner, and what the issue could be, Piscean in flavor, anything to do with mental illness, substance abuse, anything to do with, for example, hospitalization. So it could bring in issues through Piscean events, all right? So that's what it is. And then I also wanted to talk about evolutionary astrology, why I chose to do that, because I truly believe mind over matter. You finished my class with palmistry and face diagnosis, right? All right. Then I did a class recently about karma, and it became over 11 hours. I wanted to go 9, but I gave a lot of information, and I wrote a book about that. And actually, what I really wanted to say over here, mind over matter, because of 1/3 what we were born with, that is actually the heaven lack, which is karmic, very, very karmic, but you still can influence karma with paying forward your karmic debt. You can weaken your karma, or actually you can enhance your luck. So, but like, for example, the human luck and, for example, the environmental luck, you can change because you can move, you can have education, you can choose your food, right? So you are capable to change anyway 2/3 of your being over here, the human being, and 1/3, it's a little bit harder. But the evolutionary astrology says, mind over matter, I'm your co-pilot helping you to overcome the challenges. The power belongs from you. I don't need to heal you. You need to heal yourself, right? Take back your driver's seat. That's very, very important. And mind over matter, because of with visualization, with positive thinking, with prayers, doesn't matter what you believe in, guys. Prayers are very, very powerful. This is something what we must always do, and it truly doesn't matter. So that's why evolutionary astrology is not everything set in a stone. You are capable to change if there is willingness. Willingness is enough many, many times. So that's why I choose this astrology. Do you have any questions?
Yes, I had a question. Thank you for clarifying, because we have sometimes in Africa, for example, my grandmother, her birth certificate says around this date. So there's no month, there's no exact day or time. I mean, she will tell you around what time, around September, what have you. And my mom is actually the same. Her birth certificate, even in her passport, it said around this year. And she has like the month and the day. So it's interesting to know, because I didn't know that if you didn't know the exact date, there's still things that you can do in terms of the chart to get a chart and to get more information. So that was great to clarify. And I was wondering also, you mentioned the northern and the southern hemisphere, because sometimes people get confused. They say, for example, because you're in Africa, it has to be, it can be different. But for example, I'm in Senegal right now, but I'm still in the northern hemisphere. So sometimes I get people who say, well, I don't follow tropical astrology because it's Western, because it's from the Occidental world. But for me, I've seen that both, as you mentioned, both sidereal and tropical are very, for me, if it's accurate, that's what matters the most, not necessarily where it's coming from or who's doing it. But I wanted to underline that if there was some differences and things like that, because I do have also people who are watching us from South Africa, so they are in the southern hemisphere. So does that play in any way the fact that you were born in northern hemisphere or southern hemisphere? You mentioned Norway and the Nordic countries, so I don't know. For me, I haven't seen any differences, but I wanted to
The host system, if you use Placidus, then actually the host is going to become unequal. So yes, but in horse sign, the sky picture the day you were born, it's exactly the same. Doesn't matter what hemisphere you were born on. But if you are using Placidus, that's why, as I said, it's more confusing. Then the whole entire host system, it's unequal. The host is unequal, and it's harder to do the reading for the people. But that doesn't matter what hemisphere. Doesn't matter. The only matter over here in astrology, the place, the time, and the date. On the other hand, if your mother didn't know, for example, what year or what month did she born, it's very, very, very hard to do astrology. For example, you still can do if you know, all right, maybe I was born this day or the second day. They are not sure about that. At least you know the year, the month, and at least like it's within these 5 days. You're still capable to see the outer planets and the outer planets' influence on somebody's life, but it's not that detailed. It's very, very hard to interpret actually anything astrologically for the person who absolutely doesn't know, moon signs, or at least the day, because the moon, usually that's why I use palmistry and face diagnosis, because the face is it says a lot about the personality, the rising sign. You can read the rising sign many times, and the personality obviously as well. How people acting, you can say, oh, all right, this is maybe a Leo, sun sign over here, and very Sagittarius rising, because always lecturing and teaching and want to be right. So you can still have a personality, read the personality from faces, but unfortunately, less you know about your birthday details, less information you will be able to get. But otherwise, if you have all the details, doesn't matter if you were born on the northern or the southern hemisphere. Use whole sign astrology. It's not confusing. A lot of people loves Placidus. Like really, they would never use anything else but Placidus. To me, really, whole sign absolutely the one that I always going to use, and it just suits for me very well when I read other people. Even for my family, it is just so, it's amazingly accurate, amazingly accurate.
So it's great. The more information you have, the better it is. And this is also for people who are trying to see astrological charts for their parents and grandparents and what have you, because in the traditional African tradition, people don't really focus on their birth date. Sometimes they don't even get a birth certificate because you didn't need to prove who you were. They even find the idea was even, outside of the notions, and they don't have the same report with astrology because they use astrology in different ways in terms of divination. And so there's other ways you can find information about when your parents were born or your grandmother, what have you, were born. If it was the dry season or the wet season, that narrow down to certain months. And then if you know it's a nighttime or daytime, that will help as well. But as she mentioned, the more information you have, the more precise it will be. So great. I had another question. So when we use astrology, you mentioned the medical astrology. Astrology, as you mentioned, it could be very karmic, and it could be also something that's reaffirming your own evolution and your own free will. Now, when you talk about medical astrology, you already said that it's not to give you a diagnostic of this is happening, but it's giving you things that could manifest or that could be around that you need to be either in a preventative motion to prevent it from happening, or you should dive into to see if this is part of the thing that if you're already having issues, it may be something worth looking into. And I think this is an important aspect of astrology because sometimes people are frightened. They're thinking you're reading the chart and everything is fixed. There's nothing else to do. And as you mentioned with the evolution, there are things you can do as well. And in that term, is it the similar thing with compatibility? People who want to know, okay, two people, and we tell you, oh no, you Cancer and you this, you guys are not matching. Well, in fact, is it more in fact that there may be things to look out for that could be more, conflictual between the two of them? If you could just clarify that.
So, for example, you remember when I was teaching ethic in palmistry class, it is very, very important the wording we use with our client or with anyone, all right? Because the major importance over here, do not harm, guys. So you must never harm another person. That is your ethical responsibility. Even if you do palmistry, face diagnosis, any kind of healing method, doesn't matter. But with even doctors, sometimes they say crazy things. Once I had to go to the hospital, they said, oh my God, you have a heart attack. And my little children were in the back and scared my husband. So we went to the hospital because they thought I'm having a heart attack. And then over there, the doctor said, oh, by the way, you don't have heart attack. You might have a brain tumor. But he didn't even do an MRI, nothing. And the words, I was like, how dare you? How dare you to threaten? I mean, it was monitor some kind of fears, and it was terrible. The children were sitting with me, really tiny, and screaming and crying. So your words is your responsibility, ethical and moral responsibility. And what I want to say over here also, that's supposed to be and must be actually accredited professionals. So it is, for example, medical astrology, requires a lot of pathology and anatomy knowledge as well, and chemistry as well. If somebody is not a nurse, for example, or a doctor, how can they really, okay, you still understand the energy and you still can learn, what could it cause in the chart, but there is actually must be required, for medical professional, anyone who is nursing or in medicine, psychology or pathology, people who has knowledge and real credentials over here. Okay, so that's very important. And the other thing is over here, the way you are actually deliver the truth over here. So you have to know prevention. My professors, when I was studying to be surgical and psychiatric nurse, always said, Kristi, the most important is prevention. No matter what or a patient hear from, the most important we hear them. If they believe in God, let them hear from God. If they believe from medicine, let them. If they believe to hear from marijuana, let them hear from marijuana. Placebo, mental hospital, we used a lot of placebo. They healed, and it was C vitamin that I gave them, and they didn't have headache. And doesn't matter, heal the people, heal the world. It's very, very important. So, yes, and the treatment over here. So prevention is very important, but if they already develop some kind of issues, you are recommended remedies. So that's why I have all the degrees. And, sometimes I feel like, I just collected all my degrees and certification and diplomas and my masters. But on the other hand, I use it because I do use herbalism. I'm an herbalist, clinical herbalist as well. So, it's very important, for example, Reiki master to Feng Shui designer. So I'm capable to give you remedies during the readings right away. And because remedies does help, remedies is not everything though. If you are not willing to change, if you are not willing to let go and forgive and work on your shadow, guys, then the illness could stick with you. All right, because of there is something sometimes that we can't control and we need to let go. And many times, if you were reading Louise Hay, I really loved her work, and she's everything for her was psychosomatic. She thought everything is psychosomatic, and really, 95% of illnesses we create for ourselves. With resentment, with anger, with hatred, the way we act. And that's why I love Buddhism, because the moment I wake up, I'm responsible for my actions, everything, how I react to things. For example, you get an illness and the doctors say it's terminal. For example, it's cancer. Are you going to believe the death sentence right away? Because then you give your power away.
Mm-hmm.
Or are you going to try to create something, go and do detoxification? And all right, I'm going to go a little bit, not starving myself, but fasting. Because if you fast, obviously, you fast the cancer cells as well. Miracle happens every day. Guys, miracle doesn't happen to everyone, unfortunately, but also because of, if you also know Bruce Limpton, who I really love, he is actually an amazing doctor and scientist, and he says biology of beliefs, and he did a workshop in Fort Lauderdale where I went, and he is a genius man. He had to go actually to a different country because he couldn't practice in America. So he had to go somewhere else and do his researches and everything, because he truly believes we create our illness. And if we change the way we think and we're capable to pray or practice or whatever, it helps us to improve and do our own human evolution. We are capable to change the outcome of the illness many times. Obviously, as I said, miracle doesn't happen to everyone. Sometimes we start very late, in a very late stage, where it's like, or if it was something karmic and it shows in your chart, you accumulated karma and you have to experience in this lifetime to have a growth from this situation, then you will. Because you sign up. Don't forget, guys, you choose your parents, and you choose this incarnation, you know what will happen, you sign up over here. On the other hand, like you said, in Africa, sometimes they don't know. I just want to go back for 1 second. They only know wet season or dry season, or it's also night and day. It's also very important. You don't get a huge astrology picture over here, but the night people are more nurturing. The day people are more like ambitious, right? So at least we are capable to say that wet season or dry season. Dry season is retreat, and there is not a lot of growth over there in life. It's more like just experiencing and observing life as it is. Wet season is fertility, right? Mm-hmm. Everything is growing there. So you can interpret different way a human life. And then I recommend numerology for the person, palmistry and face diagnosis. We're still capable to help analyze and actually detect illness in the face or palm or anywhere, in numerology as well, because the names say a lot about people. And then that's why many times if people get married and they take their husband name, the life changes immediately, because of there is a different kind of energy. So then I offer something else, right? But you're still capable to read that. Yes, but in medical astrology, it's very, very, very important, like to analyze the aspects. And in astrology, for example, sextile and trine, it's very welcoming. Trine is granted. Sextile, you still have to work for it, but positive outcome. Conjunction could go either way. If it's with malefic, then it's bad. If it's with benefic planets, it's really good. Then also we have the square and the opposition. Opposition I don't like. It's very heavy energy. It's very karmic. It's very hard to overcome. But if there is willingness, then you are capable to if you are determined, you are capable to change your life. So that's the difference over here. But yes, since the pandemic, people like really went toward to holistic and herbalism because they didn't trust the government somehow after the lockdown. That's what I experienced. Do you experience the same?
Oh, yes. I think I did a whole video about when I moved from Canada to Africa, back to Africa. The whole change and everything was going on specifically in Canada. But there's something really also interesting that you've mentioned, because we've talked about how astrology impacts you personally, your trajectory, your career. But with the medical dimension, you touched the pandemic, where it impacts us on a more larger scale, where everyone, have you seen with the pandemic that no matter where you were on the planet, everyone was aware and talking about it. So even though it impacted some of you guys differently, we were still kind of living through the same cycle, all of us together. And I think that's one of the major, I think, world event where everyone had to know there was a pandemic. Everyone was involved, whether you wanted or not. And so that's kind of also an aspect of astrology, that you have your own little thing bubble, but you also have larger events. You mentioned politics, you mentioned otherworldly events that could also translate on in astrology when you look at it.
Yes, that's the mundane astrology, and that is the geopolitical events or pandemic, as I said. And it started with Saturn and Pluto conjunction in January 2020, right? 5 years ago. And actually, the pandemic already started in 2019, October. I truly believe I had the virus already in November, Thanksgiving, my whole family. We went to the hospital. They couldn't, oh, it's not influenza, nothing like that. They couldn't determine what we have, but that was very devastating at the beginning. And so, yeah, we already got it, but actually it was declared in March, but January when Saturn and Pluto, and those are two malefic, and it starts a synodic cycle of years, hundreds of years, right? And actually, if any of you are advanced in astrology, maybe if even you are not advanced, you might want to see the series. There is a documentary series, actually, The Changing of Gods, that is talking about the synodic cycle, the wars, the pandemics, the plague on Earth, and what kind of planet influences those cycles. It was one of the most interesting, actually, documentary for me about astrology. It was really, really amazing. So you might want to do that. And yes, the pandemic, but you always coming from your own bubble, because of the center of attention in your life is you. And that's why I say, if you change your life, if you change butterfly effects, you just change anything small around you, it's going to affect other people and help others. So it's very important to start the healing within. Do your shadow work, which is going to affect your significant others, your children. They change with you. They're going to, you don't have to change. You don't have to point fingers. The change has to come from within. Doesn't matter, but it's always within. That's how we heal. And then we are affecting little by little or bigger and bigger circles, because we all interwoven in this incarnation. Doesn't matter or age or gender or race or nationality. As I said, we all interwoven. And the pandemic, indeed, it was the same storm for everyone, but we didn't have the same boat. So somebody have yacht to overcome the pandemic, and somebody was in a dingy and maybe sank, right? So that's the difference over here. The circumstances, who is more prone to have virus or actually, and And knowledge is power, guys. So if you go to the hospital, for example, and if they want you to put on tube, but you don't need a tube, but many times it could, people didn't come off of that, or amazing ballroom teacher died because of that, and he didn't even. Eventually, they found out he didn't even have COVID, but they thought he has, and they put him on a tube, and he got an E. coli and some kind of sepsis and whatever. That was the side effect, and we lost him. And what a tragic, so you ask questions, you're not alone just because of, I always say, and I always interview the children's pediatricians, and they think I'm truly crazy. But I want to know if it is the right fit for us. And you have to, I believe it's in your hand. Even the school teachers, you go there, you check the schools. Is it for us? Are they having art? It is just academic and testing. No, thank you. Goodbye. You asking questions. It's very important. You do your research. Do you do your research on me? Don't believe in me. It's okay not to believe in me. I want you to improve and have an amazing life and make your life better. That is very, very, yeah, it's very important. But yes, that's how it started. And also another two books I want to talk about. And I don't know if you guys love Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, but I did read The Real Anthony Fauci and Bill Gates' Big Pharma and the Global War on Democracy and Public Health. It is bestseller over here. So this is a really, really amazing book. A lot of fact you can check. You can check that, and like if it is true. And the other one is the Wuhan cover up and the terrifying bioweapons arms race. So those are the two books which was like amazing, like really, really amazing, open mind, open my eyes as well. But definitely some pandemic. That's why we need mundane astrology. That's why, for example, the war in right now in Gaza, right, and what's happening over there, and how heartbreaking is it? In my channel, I talk a lot about that. And when can we actually expect to be over? Unfortunately, and as I said, even if there is gonna be ceasefire, it won't. And looks what happened 2 days ago, right? So there was another airstrike, and that is the mundane part of the astrology over here, yes. And the COVID also, you can see actually, because Saturn and Pluto, it's like annihilate, how do you call that, like the whole entire world and stop the whole entire world. Um, and I did not just videos on it before the pandemic, but I told my clients that I don't know the world going to stop. And they started to laugh and they said, "Are you crazy? How can the world stop? They're not able to stop everyone. This is craziness." And the moment pandemic came, everybody called me back, obviously, because they were like, "Oh my God, I didn't see. How could you see that?" I was like, "I didn't see that. I only saw, it stops. Saturn is sees, and it's a huge transformation." And in Capricorn, actually, it's happened in Capricorn. And what does Capricorn rule over there? And so you can say things and you can predict things, obviously, with outer planets, but watch the changing of gods, because that is one of the most amazing astrological knowledge over there. So yes, for
And so,
example, yeah.
because I just wanted to underline, guys, she said information is very important. So if you get a bad news, if you get a news of information that's frightening you, and you get a second opinion, it's the same, and you still, it doesn't sit well with you, consult an astrologer. And as she said, normally when you go in for medical astrology, and most of the astrologers that I've seen that are doing in that field have a background in the medical field. Some of them have been medical doctors, nurses, so that they're not just imagining things, they are more able to guide you. And some of them can even have experience in the particular disease that you've been diagnosed on, if they work at the ER, whatever the experience may be. So it's important for you not to act on fear, but to seek additional information that can help you better understand what is going on. So a quick session or consultation with someone like Krisztina could, appease your fear. She could pinpoint things. And we've seen with the pandemic that there was a lot of herbal remedies that were not talked about in the media. So when you have an astrologer that's not only in medical astrology, but also a herbalist, it becomes even better for you because they can give you remedies that are available or that you can easily find that would not require you to, necessarily refer to the system that's currently frightening you. So that's important to keep that in mind.
Oh, very important. Absolutely. And we always start if it is a holistic method, and that's what should they do. There is integrative medicine. It's really, really important because then you combine actually Western medicine with Eastern medicine, and you use herbs and you use actually psychological healing as well, because very, very important also to work with the shadow work as well. Forgiveness, as I said, letting go, parasite cleanse. Guys, parasite cleanse is one of the most important things. And then, because it actually going to help your immune system, liver cleansing, very important. The liver is so overwhelmed. Why? Because the whole entire world is toxic. We use so much Roundup and chemicals to actually spray your food. And, it's environmental. So obviously healing comes from different kind of stage, and you have to holistically and actually integrate every single method possible to heal the body and heal the mind. And the holistic, the body, mind, spirit has to align and support yourself with like-minded people who don't monitor fear. Watch a lot of for example, comedy. If you have a terminal illness, it shows. If you are laughing every day, don't watch any news, nothing. Go out just in nature, earthing. Earthing is really good because we are actually have very high toxicity. And actually, Kennedy talks about EMF as well, and why is it technology? Like the EMF is terrible for humanity, and he also talks about how IQ actually decreased during pandemic. People were not interacting with each others; they were on just gaming, or there was how many domestic abuse because people were home and they didn't know, and starvation because of children didn't have food, because usually in America a lot of school provided food for underprivileged population. So, and how did it actually created mental health? Why actually suicide rates are higher right now? Or, what is the situation with this gender issues, in population? Why? Because of the microplastic. We are drinking from bottled water. It's amazing. And then you can go back to astrology and check, okay. So for example, pandemic triggered record-breaking levels and anxiety, depression, and, burnout as well. Planets like Neptune is mental fog, and planets like Neptune, it's also drinking and alcohol and drug abuse, right? So this is for mundane astrology. Neptune also pandemic and viruses, as it is virus outbreak. Uranus is bacterial infection, but Neptune is virus, for example. But Uranus also anything to do with nervous system and anxiety, and neurological disease. So right now you will see a lot of people having Uranus and Pluto squares, especially between 45 to 55, it could be, the fact. And those are the population who could be the side effect. And I'm not saying if you took vaccination, God bless, if you did take vaccination, or even if you had COVID vaccine, you can take actually pine needle tea, because actually it's getting the spike protein out from the blood. It's really, really good because it's going to prevent any kind, like prevent heart attack, because the spike protein itself could be some kind of malfunction of the heart, could bring in neurological disease as well. But the Pluto Uranus, it's also generational, who is affected and, for example, get multiple vaccination. Those people can die in, for example, heart attack, stroke, or something like that. And As I told you before the interview, I had two people right now, 36 and 50, drop dead, heart attack. They all had boosters. You know, we don't know exactly. I don't want to fear monitor over here, but obviously it could be the case. You know, check the yellow card. There is actually a study over there, the yellow card study about COVID. And it was a 2021 study, and since then there was a lot of other study over there. But yeah, it says already a lot about, you know, what was the vaccination creating. Yes, and you know, all the zodiac signs, for example, Aries is the head, the brain, the eye, for example, prone to fevers and migraines. Taurus, anything, the second house, what you eat over there, but also it's your vocal cord, the thyroid. So every single zodiac sign and every single planets in medical astrology, it's actually represents something else over there, right? And Saturn and Neptune going to conjunct in Aries soon. And you know, Aries anything to do with fevers, and Aries anything to do with, you know, inflammation. So it could actually bring in some kind of issues, and it could be also like collective issues, anything to do with anti-inflammatory, inflammatory issues, or some kind of fever, you know, when Saturn Neptune gonna conjunct in Aries, or anything to do with eye and ear related issues. And we will see soon. So that's
How
what
long?
I wanted to
Mhm.
say. Yes? Yes? Okay, we got frozen for a second. What did you want to ask?
Yes. How long is that conjunction? You know, how
So
long is it last?
So it's gonna start right now in 2025, and then they both going to back in Pisces, and then it's going to be exact in 2026, but it's going to conjunct multiple times as they move forward in Aries, and it's really until 2027. So it's not a short time of period. That's when, you know, popism perhaps will be over, but definitely I told my subscribers and followers, the Pope definitely going to pass in 2025, and look at what's happening. So I said it 3 years ago, but yes, so it could bring in, and it's multiple things happening with this conjunction, you know. But as I said, change your life, change your circumstances, change your children and mother and loved ones' life, you know, with your own shadow work. Pray is very, very potential, and actually it's powerful. And we are capable to affect with our prayers humanity. Just a small, tiny differences, smile at one person, help one person, is going to create a better world, guys. So that's why I'm saying we are capable to change this. So it's, you know, we have to hold each other's hand. And trust is an issue lately, because people are angry and overwhelmed, and they don't trust. I understand, but you know, we have to come together. We have to come to our tribe, like-minded people, and create a difference. That's the purpose of life, to
And
serve
guys,
others. Yes.
thank you. I guess I just want to remind you because in 2024 I made a video beyond 2024 with 16 different elements to look at from then on to improve into your life. Becoming less dependent on the system was one of them, and I think some of you asked to do a specific video for each of the topics, but this brings us back here because if you're less dependent on the system, you know, we talked about mention home apothecary, the kind of herbs that you can have at home that you don't need to rush to the pharmacy. If the pharmacy is not open or if the doctor's office is not open, you need to have some of those things at home so you know what to do. She's mentioning the conjunction could bring a little bit more fever. Some of those things, there's other things to look at and to say, okay, do you have things to prevent it or do you have things to address it at home for your children, your loved one, people around you? We also talked about if you can move to people that you love and who love you. So you are surrounded with your own network. Instead of being, if you've been in the city by yourself and you've been struggling, this may be the time to go back to your mother, or your family, or your best friends, if they're the people who really love you, because just having the, like she said, the level of stress down is gonna be helping you with your immunity system anyways.
Mhm.
So there are a lot of things that you can do. And one of the other things was also learning astrology, learning some of those subjects that are, that society used to look down on or make fun of. And they do that purposely so you don't touch them and you don't have that extra information. Krisztina, maybe can you just repeat your YouTube channel or the services where people can find you if they want to have a session with you or connect with you?
Yes, that is Cosmic Insight Astrology, but I can send it to you and you can pin that under in the comment below.
Mm-hmm.
And also urbanwitch.org is my
Mm-hmm.
website and you can learn about me over there. And so we just gonna pin it. I just gonna send it to you. And even the book I wrote for teenagers, how to overcome anxiety and fear of death and bullying and this kind of but the teenagers, even reproduction and how to teach, your children really about those kind of very, very heavy topics. So I can actually put that, send it to you, and then you can put in comment below. And thank you so much for everyone who allow me to talk over here. And thank you really, and thank you, Ida, to having me.
Thank you for accepting my invitation, and I hope you will have a more conversation because there's a lot of things that Krisztina, she's very humble, but she does a lot of things. She has a lot of knowledge, and I always told you, do not get faced in terms of sometimes you will you hear about racism, all these different things. You need to go where the information is, especially if it resonates with you and you need it. For me, I always tell you, then I have so many different tools because I don't look at things just on the surface. You have to see if something vibrates with you, if something answers your prayer, answers the things, you have to go and go towards them. Don't let those little things prevent you from getting the answers you need or the tools you need to really be in the place that you will want. So there are so many things that I want to talk to her. Maybe we will have other videos with her so she can expand and share that knowledge with you. And of course, if you have any questions, please, you can leave them in the comments or you can email me or contact Krisztina. And I'll see you all very, very soon. And thank you again, Krisztina, for this time.
Thank you. See you guys. Talk to you soon.